Hello, everyone. Welcome to ScienceHolic's Computer Science webinar. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Today, we are very excited to welcome Joyce Guo today to talk about her experience as a software engineer. My name is Emma. I'm your host for today's webinar. And yeah, we're going to get started. So before we start, I just want to briefly talk about what ScienceHolic is. So we are a youth nonprofit that aims to introduce intricate scientific topics in a manner that is fun and comprehensible to teens. We also provide volunteer and leadership opportunities to teens all over the world, including those who have English as their second language. So our main mission is to serve as a free resource for students to learn more about various STEM topics. So other than this webinar branch, we also publish seasonal magazines. So last month, we just published our 9th edition, which is volume 2 of our chemistry series. So feel free, excuse me, feel free to go check that out on our website after this webinar. So now, without further ado, please give a big welcome to Joyce. Joyce, would you mind introducing yourselves to us briefly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joyce Guo. Thank you, Emma, for inviting me to this. I'm really honored to speak with you guys today. I'm currently working as an iOS software engineer at Audible, and before that, I was working at Snap. I graduated from Rice University, studying computer science, and I'm currently living in Los Angeles. So my hobbies are photography, sailing, and boxing.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Joyce. And now, attendees, this is just a brief reminder that if you have any questions that you would like to ask Joyce at any time in the webinar, just leave them in the Zoom chat and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar with our Q&A section. All right, so first, we are going to start with some academic-based questions. So our first question is, how did you discover your passion for computer science?
Yeah, so this is actually a really interesting story. So I first got introduced to computer science in high school, but my high school previously did not offer any official courses in computer science. So I first heard about the topic in my math class, actually. So it was my junior year, and my math teacher was talking about how, like if you write a computer program, you're able to write a function and it could compute something really complicated for you in a blink of an eye. And that just really caught my interest. And after class, I started talking more about computer science with my math teacher. And that's when he actually suggested me doing an independent study with him for my senior year. So an independent study back in my high school was basically like a customized 1 credit course that you could do with any teacher who will like design a project for you to do. So for my independent study, I did it with my junior year math teacher, where he taught me how to code in Python, which is like a really basic programming language. And he taught me how to about the syntax and also how to code for a game. So that was my project for the independent study, is to code for a game with Python. And yeah, that's my first step into the computer science world. And I would say I definitely and my teacher had a big part in it. He was a great support for me, and I love how he made it really engaging and fun for me to discover computer science as well. So yeah, definitely recommend whoever is interested and curious about computer science to start with like an interesting project like that, just to see how you feel about it. And just yeah, I think that would be a really good first step into the computer science world.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. So now our next question, what was it like majoring in CS in college?
Yeah, so I think honestly speaking, is the first thing I have to say is it's hard. At least for me, it is a really hard subject to study in college because you're learning about a lot of the stuff like algorithms, um, operating systems. Like those are stuff that professional software engineers get asked in real job interviews. So like, not everybody get that as a professional software engineer, and that's what you're learning in college. So I definitely have to say those are hard stuff. That's how I felt like as well. I felt like transitioning from high school to college, there was definitely a phase for me where I realized I was struggling. I started to struggle a lot in classes, and I had to put in like way more effort than I did in high school to be as successful as I was back in high school. And even if I had put in so much effort, I'm still like starting to get B's and C's. So yeah, I wanted to say like computer science is a hard subject for most people. So definitely if you are thinking about pursuing that, I just want to reassure you that like, if you feel like you're struggling, you're not alone, and it's completely normal, a completely normal process. So just embrace the process. And if you survive through it, you're a warrior. So, and another thing is, I feel like CS has become a really popular subject in recently, starting a long time ago. But for when I majored in computer science back in college, CS was the biggest major at Rice. So I was taking classes with like 200 people in the same room. And I definitely felt like I was not alone in this because how great of a community I have. And whenever I go to like office hours, there's always people there asking the same questions. So it's a really good study environment and community because how there's so many people just pursuing the same things. So I would say like CS is a popular subject, and the benefit of that is you get a great community out of it.
Yeah, it's like I think students definitely shouldn't be intimidated by, going into a study that's, considered to be harder if they have that passion, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely like whoever is thinking of pursuing that, like I want to say you're a warrior because it's not something everybody could do. And I
Hmm.
definitely struggled.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely yeah, students shouldn't be afraid of, I guess quote unquote failure in academics because, at the end
Mhm.
of the day, it's what will make them better at their skill.
For
Great. Thank you
sure.
so
Yeah.
much. All right, question 3. This is quite a popular question amongst our attendees. What is your advice for high school students interested in CS or engineering, and what actions can they take to better prepare themselves for a future career in STEM?
Yeah, great question. So I want to say just for I kind of answered that in the first question of how I kind of got introduced into CS when I had an interest was just engaging with my teachers who had a background in CS. And I'm sure like nowadays, as it became more popular, like more high schools are offering like AP classes in CS. So that is a great opportunity for you to just see what it feels like to study CS, if you like it, if it is for you. So yeah, like take those AP classes if your school is offering them. If not, then you could also be like me, just be proactive about it and try to find opportunities where you can learn from adults around you who had a background in CS, or there's also like great resources online about like intro to CS. Usually Python, Java are the intro programming languages for someone who's just starting up. So those are great places to start up as well. And for me, I am a iOS software engineer. So I also feel like the language for iOS is also a great place to start, and it's more interesting. So you could maybe find an online course that teaches you how to program like an app on the iPhone. And I think that is something that would make it interesting for you at first, because then you're able to like just play around with it on your phone. And it's more intuitive, and you could see immediately what the results are. So yeah, I think that's a good place to start as well. And what actions can you take to better prepare for a future career in STEM? Yeah, so I would say that is a question to consider when you're in college. Like some opportunities that I had back in college was I did an internship at SNAP my sophomore year, and that is how I got a return offer at the end and ended up returning full time. So like definitely use those college summers for internships. And another great opportunity is there are also CS professors at your school, CS or like other engineering professors who are doing researches. So you can just find out about what research they're doing, and if anything interests you, then be proactive about it. Reach out to those professors and ask them if they have any side projects for you that you could work on to contribute to their research. And I know I did that personally, and I know a lot of my friends did that in college. So that was something you could do, just like an in-semester thing. Like it could be some of those you could do it for credit. Some of those is just more like an after-school project, but it just adds more to your experience, your resume, about like the projects that you're involved with in CS. So all of those things will be super beneficial for you to build a career in STEM, because from those things, you're able to get more exposure into areas. So it's also a great opportunity for you to discover if that's something you want to do in the future. So yeah, like when you're in college, there's going to be so many research projects that are happening around, and if you're being proactive about joining any of them, then I'm sure you'll find something that's good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of, let's say, room for exploration in all those areas. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, moving on. Our next section of questions is more focused on career and having a professional career in STEM. So first up, what was it like transitioning from college to your professional career? I know you touched a little bit upon that earlier, so yeah, could you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, so my first step into the professional career would be my internship at SNAP. And that was during my sophomore year summer. I actually ended up graduating in 3 years, so I returned full time the following year. And I would say, so I did not, so my intern role at Snap was on the iOS team. So I didn't have any previous experience with coding for iOS, because we didn't have any courses in that in school. So when I first started, I had to basically learn about iOS from scratch, and then just learn it as fast as possible, and also learn it as I do my intern projects. So I think it was definitely it was an not, I wouldn't describe it as necessarily like a rough transition, but it's definitely something that's interesting, because I didn't expect that I need to learn something that's completely new on the job. Like I didn't get hired because I knew how to do iOS. I got hired because I guess about like my computer science skills in general. But I was surprised how I did not really get to use much of that in the real job, and instead I had to pick up something completely new to me and do the projects with that language to the best that I can. So and as I became a full-time software engineer, I just realized how, like having to pick up something new, a new language, is something that is so common for software engineers, and it's like a super common thing for you to like learn about something new every day. And even if it's a language that you're already familiar with, from projects to projects is always going to be a big transition. It's always going to be something new. So you're just constantly having to learn about new things. So that is something I've realized. That's just what being a software engineer means, is you keep building on your skills by learning new things, projects to projects. So yeah, I think that is an interesting feeling I had towards my professional career, and that was something that I felt when transitioning from college.
Yeah, so what specific skills in college that you learned do you think helped you with in your professional career? You know, maybe not necessarily on like technical parts, but what skills in sort of just in general do you think helped you with that?
Yeah, I think technically first, there's definitely a lot of similarity in transferable knowledge between different programming languages. So when you have to learn about a new one on the job, it's not like you are starting like 100% fresh. There's still going to be a lot of similarities that you like, knowledge that you already know from learning previous languages that you could just carry through to the new one. And so that is for the technical part. And I think outside of that, like another important part is definitely like working with people on the same CS project. Like in college, there'll be a lot of opportunities for you to work on projects with a peer or even a group of people. So that is when you really had to, I guess, really develop a teamwork, your teamwork skill and communication skill, so that like, because different people write different codes and you have to, you know, write comments, for example, so that other people understand what your code means, and that will help you with like cross-team collaborations as well. And on the real job, you're definitely not working by yourself all the time. There will be plenty of opportunities and plenty of times where you had to read other people's code, and where other people will come to you and have questions for the code that you wrote. So like that communication skill, being able to clearly communicate and document the work that you produce is super important.
Hmm. Yeah, sounds like it's definitely not like a very stereotypical like everybody's sitting at their own little cubicle in the office. Is there's a
Yeah,
lot of collaboration.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, next question. How and when did you get your first internship? And yeah, Jasmine, our attendee, just asked a question earlier. What was it like interviewing at software companies?
Okay. Um, Okay, I'm gonna talk about both. So I got my first, it's a kind of interesting story. So I said I got my first internship in my sophomore year summer. And I felt like it was a little bit unconventional because most people will start looking in their junior year, and they would intern somewhere for their junior year summer, and then getting a return offer for full time, because usually people graduate in 4 years. And for me, I was originally thinking I would just also graduate in 4 years. So I didn't really start looking for our internships my sophomore year. But just very fortunately, I got a message from a recruiter from Snap on through LinkedIn. So they sent me a message and asked me if I wanted to interview for their internship. So I said, okay, I will do that. And for the interview process, for interns at Snap, I went through 2 rounds of technical interviews. So they were scheduled at different times. So you had to basically like pass the first round to get to the second round. And if you pass both rounds, then you get the internship. So that's what I went through to land this internship at Snap. And after that, after working over there over the summer, I got a return offer, and they were asking me if I would like a return internship or full time. And that is when I started considering and counting my credits to see if I'm able to graduate in the next year. And I found that if I really just max out my credits, I can do that technically. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll just go for a full-time return offer instead. So yeah, that was my experience. I would say I was definitely super lucky in the process. And yeah, I feel like for internships, it's pretty common for you to have to go through several rounds of interviews, technical interviews to get internship, and same for full time. For full time, usually the common practice is you go through like a super day, where it's just 4 or 5 rounds of interviews in one full day. And usually before COVID, they would usually fly you to their headquarters for you to do the interviews at the headquarters. So each round you would meet with a different person from the team, and they give you a question. And they also sometimes throw in some behavioral questions as well. And now I think if they're not doing it in person, you would just do it virtually, but it will be done in one day. So it's a very exhausting experience because it's like 5 hours of interviews for the whole day, and it's usually like broken down into like the mornings and the afternoons. You get a little break at lunch. So, but every company is different. But what I just said was the common practice that I know among most big tech companies for now. So that's the interview process.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question, how do you build strong relationships with mentors in the field of computer science?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had a mentor. I had a mentor when I first joined Snap for internship, and when I returned as well, during my onboarding process. And this mentor was a more senior level software engineer. And so in this process, in our relationship, I guess this mentorship, we just had meetings like at least once every week where he's checking up on me, like my onboarding process, and he would also help me whenever if I have technical questions or questions about the company, the teams, just whatever about whatever. And also he will also help me with like career development advice. So yeah, I think we had a really good relationship, and I felt like in a mentorship, it's also important for you to treat it as a two-way relationship. And what I mean by that is, I think it's usually when you think about a mentorship, like the mentee will get support from the mentor, and it's more of a single way relationship. But I think a good mentorship isn't necessarily only that. Like you all as the mentee also have I guess you also have you have you are also able to like provide feedbacks for the mentors, and you're also able to just give something to the mentor as well. Like for example, give them regular updates about your work, and if they had given you a piece of advice, maybe you've used that in some real work example and you've succeeded, then you could share that story with your mentor, so that you really make them feel like their mentorship was like a big part of your growth. So I think that is a way for you to make the mentors feel like they also have some takeaways from this mentorship, and they will keep wanting to give you more support. So whenever I would definitely say when building a mentorship relationship and you're the mentee, definitely don't be afraid to, and I think you should regularly like share your updates with your mentors. And also maybe some of them are, like training to be managers. So they might actually appreciate your feedback on how they're doing as a mentor as well. So I think you can always feel free to feel like you're also you're also as important as they are in this relationship. And yeah, I think that would be my biggest advice for going to a mentorship.
Yeah, so that way it's really valuable for both parties in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our next question, what have been the challenges and highlights of your career so far?
Mm, that's a great question. For challenges, see, I kind of touched upon this a little bit, but I think the biggest challenge is just to it's just you'll have to be able to like pick up new stuff really quickly. And I think that is a really important skill for a software engineer because there you'll be dealing with code bases with like I don't know, like 50 thousands or more lines of code. So whenever you're working on a different project, you might be looking at a completely different set of code. So being able to quickly understand that and be able to like add to it without you're feeling comfortable enough to like add to a completely new territory without breaking anything. Those are like definitely the challenges. And I think another challenge would also be like cross-team communications because usually when you're working at a real company, a lot of the systems are that you're working with are interconnected. So for example, I work on the iOS and that is the iPhone app, right? But we're also working with the network service team, and their service serves not only the iOS, but it also serves like Android and the web. So for us, it's like we are not just working with our own code base. We have to also work with this other service team. And as software engineer, as a iOS engineer, I have zero domain knowledge about what their code is doing. So being able when you're working together with cross function teams like that, be able to clearly communicate with each other. So we understand what each other's code are doing, and we're able to like collaborate and coordinate. So that is definitely a big challenge and a really important part of working as a software engineer. And I think highlight of my career, I would definitely say I'm really lucky enough to be able to work on the apps because like everybody, all my friends uses an iPhone, and the apps that I work on or happen to be some of the ones that are popular among my friends. It used to be Snapchat and now it's Audible. So and I work on like some really client visible features. So a lot of the features that I worked on when I ship them, and I see my friends are using them, I could just tell them like, oh, I made this feature. So that's really cool to see the work that you did and see how it actually got utilized and impact people in real life is definitely a highlight of my career.
Yeah, that must be super rewarding when you finally get to see, other people using that final product.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. All right, so now we have our live Q&A session. So now we are going to focus on any attendee questions. So before I got a question in the chat here, our attendee asked, what are some recent projects that you've been working on?
Yeah. Recently, let's see. Yeah, okay. So recently I worked on the chatbot feature for Audible. And that is basically where if you had a question about the app or like your membership or um like any titles that you can find, you will go to customer service. But before you reach a live agent, we are building a chatbot to address some of the common like questions. So I was working on that for the iOS side. And for that, I also worked with Android, and I worked with the network service team to build this chatbot features together. And we just recently shipped that. And we started from the US marketplace, and then we started shipping it in other marketplaces as well. So yeah, that is a feature that I recently worked on that I think was super fun. And that was also one of the features that I worked on that involves the most cross-team communications. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Now here we have another question asking what area of computer science do you think will develop fastest or will be most needed in the future?
What areas of computer science? That's an interesting question. I feel like AI, that's for sure. It's like the biggest topic of the year, starting from last year. Because there's so many possible usage for AI and how it could be integrated into our lives and bring so much benefits to our lives. And like starting from, it was ChatGPT, and then I believe recently there's a research done at Stanford that they built like a AI cooking robot where it's basically able to cook whatever dish you're asking it to. So there's stuff like that is you could see how much AI can do. Is the potential is really has no limits. And I still believe we have a lot to explore in the future for that. Like what we're already have right now is just a tip of the iceberg. So it has a great potential, and that is what I think most people are working on right now. So I'm excited to see just towards the end of the year, what are some new AI projects that are coming out.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. That's a super mainstream topic right now.
Mhm.
All right, so here we have another question. What are your thoughts on doing a double major with CS, and how might that be helpful in the workforce?
Okay. So yeah, I think actually for me back in college, I was thinking of doubling major in CS and film just because I was also really interested in film and photography. So I wanted to pursue that for a while, but then I wanted to graduate in 3 years, so I didn't have the time to pursue another major. But if I had another year, it would be totally doable, especially I can't speak for other schools because every school is different for the credits. But at Rice, I know it was super common for people to double major in things, and it was totally doable for you to do like computer science versus and another one. I know there's people that did computer science and linguistic or computer science and psychology. Those are some common ones. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be beneficial if you're majoring in computer science and something that you're just genuinely interested about, because then you're able to, because computer science is something that can be really integrated with anything. Like, for example, there's an app or website for anything. So it has a lot of potential to have integration with whatever topics it is. So it would definitely be super interesting to see, like, what are some possibilities of using computer science to build more, like programs or just technical products with like along with other subjects. So it's really up to you to just explore what are the possibilities out there.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And yeah, while we're on the topic of exploration, an entity asked, how do you reach out for interns or projects? So do you find sites online or do you email professors? So what's the process with really finding out about internships?
Yeah. So for internships, so your school, I'm sure will definitely have a career fair every year. In the fall, usually where they would invite a lot of companies to come in. There will be big companies and there will be smaller size or startup companies. So that is a great resource for you to find out about internship opportunities during those career fairs. So I would say definitely go to those. And other than that, I know for Rice at least, there's this website. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like Handshake or something. It's basically like LinkedIn, but for college students. And I'm sure not just Rice uses that, but basically, like I said, it's a LinkedIn for college students. So the job postings you see on there are usually strictly like internships or new grad positions. So that is another great resource, another online portal where you could check out like the job listings. And another thing is just, of course, LinkedIn. But I think LinkedIn would be the last place to go. I would recommend because the posting there are just so many different levels. Like it's hard to really filter out the ones that are for college students. So I would recommend the first two for now. And about projects, research project opportunities. For me, there was not really like a website or posting of opportunities. So I would say it's more up to you to find out about what are some researches that different professors are doing. But I do think that maybe some schools, like your school major website is a great source that you could, because they usually will post about research that are happening, and also they have like intros of professors and what are the projects they're doing. So if you see anything that's interesting, like you could literally just email the professor or go to their office during their office hours if he's like one of your professors. So just talk to them, start talking to them about their projects, and or literally just ask them if if he's a professor in teaching one of the classes right now for you, you could just go up to him and be like, oh, what are some research that you're doing? I would be interested to help in any way. So those are great ways for you to be proactive and find out about opportunities that are out there. Because for research, especially, a lot of the times they're not really going to need anybody at the moment, but if you ask, they might find something for you. So they might create something to do for you, and that is a great chance for you to be involved in the project. So yeah, those are some ways that I've used to get those opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that advice. Here we have another question. So what resources did you use to learn/pursue coding further? So I'm assuming this attendee is referring to if you're starting out in coding, or you have some interest in there and you want to sort of explore more and learn more, how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of online courses would be helpful. Like I know Coursera has an intro course for basically whatever programming languages you want to pursue. I think Python is a great place to start, because Python is also the first language that I learned in college as well. So like for like college freshmen, Python is usually the first thing they learn. So because the syntax for Python is relatively easier compared to other programming languages. So that is a good place to start, is like finding an introduction to Python online course. So Coursera, I know they have one. There's also Udemy, and you could just like Google like courses, tutorials or courses to Python. I would recommend like following a actual scheduled course instead of like just YouTube videos, because some YouTube videos are not really structured, and I think it would be most helpful to learn it in a structured way. And so yeah, I think that is a great place to start. Or if you're specifically interested in iOS, I would advocate for like trying out an introduction to iOS programming course as well. I just think that would be really interesting because you can instantly build something that you could just play around with on your phone. So it's very rewarding, and it might actually got your interest. So yeah, those are some things I recommend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we have another question here. So before you talked about building strong mentor relationships, so this attendee wants to know what is the best way to find a mentor, or perhaps how do you know this mentor could, have uh, sort of the most potential in helping you?
Mm, I see. That is an interesting question, and it's hard. I think it's hard to find the right one for you, like the one that could help you in the best way. But I do think there's something that we could learn from anybody. So like any senior person in your field, I think is, or that you felt like um I guess like personality match is also important, because for a mentorship, it's not just, you're not just learning like technical stuff from him. He's not your teacher. It's also important that he is able to give you advice on career development. So I think, well, for me, I I didn't really like find my mentor. He was assigned to me. Um, but I think if you wanted to find a mentor, let's see, what's a good place to start? I know some people would just like go on LinkedIn. Like for example, they would if you're interested in like someone who's doing software engineering, then search for like software engineers at a specific company, like software engineer at Google, for example. And you will see different people's profile, and you could see like where they went to school, what jobs that they've had. Another good place to start is searching on LinkedIn, like filter through schools. So I feel like alums, if you like, for example, if it's someone that went to the same high school or even middle school with you, then when you reach out to them as an alum, there's a higher chance of them actually saying yes and replying to you. So I think that is a great place to start. Is looking through like the alums, like who is doing the career that you're interested in, and just shoot them a message through LinkedIn, or if they have an email, shoot them an email, and asking them if they would like to speak more, just speak more to you about their career, career development, and everything. And after that initial meeting is when you could kind of get the vibe between you two. And if you like the vibe you have with each other, you could then ask them if they wanted to turn this into a mentorship and like a long-term mentorship. And it's super important, if you're the person to initiate everything, you have to be proactive and initiate every meeting, because for mentors, they're taking up time of their day to help you with your career. So it's very important that you show them you're really appreciative of their time, and you're really cherishing this opportunity. So definitely be proactive about like setting up meetings and sending follow-up emails to show them how much you really cherish this opportunity, and that will help building this mentorship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super useful. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right. I think so far that is it for the attending question. Oh, actually here we just have another question come in. So, what are your thoughts and advice for job shadowing in the CS workforce?
Job shadowing. Do you mean what do you mean exactly by job shadowing?
Um, yeah, so this attendee, could you please clarify that question for us? Thank you. Mm, all right, so She says learning about the role or what they do. So
Okay.
yeah.
So sorry, what's the full question again?
Yeah. So what are your thoughts or advice for job shadowing? Yeah.
That's advice. Okay. Um, so I would interpret that question as how, like, if you're interested in working as a software engineer at a specific company, what are
Hmm.
some ways to learn about it?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think the method that I said for my finding of a mentor also applies here. You could filter on LinkedIn, filter out by schools, like find an alum that is working at a company that you are interested in, the role you're interested in. If you can't find an alum, then I guess it can be random as well. But I would say, like, try to find some kind of connection between you two. So it might make, because you're basically like cold emailing them, there's a high chance they might not reply. So if you have any sort of commonality, it might be just a higher chance of them actually replying to you. But you can find some people like that and just cold emailing them and asking them if they could share their experience working at this company as a software engineer. Like, you could just say you're someone who's interested in a career in STEM and you're curious to learn about what their experience is. So yeah, I think that would be a really straightforward way. And I've seen that working for a lot of people. So just be patient with the process, and be prepared that the people you're cold emailing might not reply, but that is okay. So yeah, I think that is the way that I would recommend.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. Any more last minute questions that we can take? Yeah, we have time for that right now. Otherwise, that's totally fine. Let's see. All right, I think that might be all for the Q&A section. All right, so we can wrap up today's webinar. So here are all the ways that you can follow ScienceHolic for any of our future webinars like this one, or our future projects for magazines and articles. Be sure to follow our Instagram at ScienceHolic Official. And yeah, we always update our website, scienceholic.org. And here we have listed our email. If you have any further questions, you can always contact us there. And I will get into it on more on the next slide, but here is our link tree where you can find the applications for our positions if you're interested in joining us here at ScienceHolic. So at ScienceHolic, we have 6 teams. I am part of the outreach team. And so here are some of sort of our tasks of what we do. So, as an outreach member, you set up webinars like this one, and we have annual conferences. So we have multiple days to a week of a series of webinars. So 2023, we just had a chemistry conference, which was amazing. We had a lot of really amazing people from chemistry fields come and talk to us. And yeah, we have a lot of up and coming projects. So it's all really exciting. And yeah, you could also join our art or content teams. So, they will work on the magazine articles there. So content wise. And if you're also interested in helping us out, but you're looking for more of a low commitment job, then the ambassador program would be great for you. So as an ambassador, you would help spread the word of ScienceHolic and promote events like this one. And yeah, just share our work to anyone. Thank you so much to all of our attendees, and thank you so much to Joyce for your time here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So yeah, that would be the end of today's webinar. Thank you all so much for attending. And yeah, a big thank you to Joyce again as well. Have a good day, everyone.